Ask, what do stunning coins and delicious snacks have in common?
Hi, I'm Jack McNamara, and I love stunning and rare coins. Oh, and I also love delicious and scrumptious food, too. Join me as I combine the best of numismatics and tasty treats into one show. Coin Snacks with Jack. Put down that tired bologna sandwich and spice up your lunch as I chat with some of the biggest names in numismatics and eat delicious snacks. From coin news and US Mint releases to rare coins and numismatic oddities. From my all-time favorite coins to ancients and commemoratives, get your numismatic midweek pick-me-up with Coin Snacks with Jack. Plus, we'll eat snacks, lots of them.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Coin Snacks with Jack. I'm your host, Jack McNamara, and I've been trying to convince Rick to let me do this show from the kitchen of a local bakery instead of my office, but so far, no luck with that. Anyway, you can catch me right here live on YouTube and Facebook, streaming a new episode every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern and noon Pacific. This week's bit of numismatic news involves a version of a coin that we talked about in depth a couple weeks back with my friend Kevin Lipton right here on this show. The coin I'm talking about is none other than the 1792 right quarter. I mean, this is a coin that I always looked at it, pictures in the front of the Red Book, and kind of fantasized ever seeing in person. So it's amazing you get to see this coin and talk to Kevin about it. But the last time we talked, though, it was about the more famous copper example, of which there's only two known. The piece that I want to talk about today is one of just 4 examples known that were actually struck in white metal, which is kind of like tin. This specific coin was graded about uncirculated 58 by NGC, and it recently just sold for $1.26 million. So every week, the numismatic world just blows me away. All these historic sales that have been happening lately. You know, I can't wait to see what happens next week. It's been an exciting time in the world of coins. Before we go further, I just want to say thank you to everyone who gets this show on the air every week. Sebastian, Sofer, Colleen, Nate, Elliot, Alex, Andrew, thank you all. This is great. I can't do this on my own. This week, we have another lunch special as well. We are going to be giving 5% off select Mint State 2021 American Silver Eagles. What do I have here? I have, which one's this? Oh, there we go. There's a 2021 emergency issue. This is included. Includes our 2021 P Philadelphia issue. There's no mint mark. The P's in parentheses. 2021 emergency production issues, as well as the standard 2021 Mint State issues. This one here is actually certified by NGC in our exclusive Reagan Mercanti holder, autographed by John Mercanti with that Reagan artwork. You see it up on your screen there. This sale, this special 5% discount on this select group of 2021 Silver Eagles, is going until 3 o'clock Pacific, so that's 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, so do not hesitate to check it out. Go to our website, rarecollectiblestv.com, to take advantage of this offer. No special code is necessary. Just select that item. These ones automatically give you that discount. So, now, it is time to introduce our special guest. You may recognize him. He's been on the show in the past, or you may have seen him recently in Coin World's list of the top 10 most influential people in numismatics since 1960. His iconic book, Morgan Dollar, America's Love Affair with a Legendary Coin, was awarded as Best Specialized Book in 2015 by the Numismatic Literary Guild. He is the Vice President of NGC. Today we have my friend Miles Standish. How you doing, Miles?
I'm doing great, Jack, and it's nice to see you and hear your voice.
It's always good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me, Miles. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you. And greetings from Central Florida.
Yeah, I understand you're traveling. We'll get into that briefly. Before I get into our questions for you and start talking coins and getting into the nitty-gritty here, I know you're aware that the most important part we have to get done here first is we have to introduce the lovely Colleen to tell us about our snack for the day. We know this is critical.
Absolutely. The queen of snacks.
The queen of snacks, exactly. So let's see what Colleen has for us today.
I wanted to be the queen of hearts. Okay, I'll be the queen of snacks. That's fine. I can do that. So here we have key lime pie today.
Because Miles is in Florida.
This is because Miles is with us. He's in Florida. The weather's turning warmer. We're getting away from COVID, so it's like we just have to celebrate. So Miles and I coordinated with our outfits and with our pie here. So I made you a key lime pie. And actually, key limes are from South Florida.
Okay.
And the story kind of goes that William Curry, who was a he was a Key West businessman and millionaire, and his Aunt Sally first created this pie in the late 1800s. And what was really great about this pie was that, people didn't really have great refrigeration, so you might not have fresh milk on hand, but there was sweetened canned condensed milk. So with egg yolks and the sweetened milk, you could add lime juice from the key limes, and then this alchemy would kind of cook the limes, cook the egg yolks, and so you had this pie that you could make at any time, and it didn't even have to be baked.
Oh, wow.
Which I actually think back then, I think there were a lot of people who actually took a risk having key lime pie for dessert, and they might have gotten sick. But we now bake our pie so that we don't make you sick, and so I've made this for you today, and
it looks awesome.
I hope you both enjoy it. We have one for Miles as well. If he could just get a fork, he will be able to enjoy it. But I have a fork for you.
All right.
We'll go ahead and let you dive in.
So yeah, Miles, I understand you're on the road and you're working on getting utensils, but I have faith that you'll figure out how to ingest that pie somehow.
I've got my fingers crossed, and we'll just have to improvise if the fork or spoon doesn't show up.
Yeah, if we were in person, I think we'd have to look out because I have a feeling, the two of us are both kind of pranksters. I have a feeling it would be like some kind of a Three Stooges routine happening. One of us would be wearing a pie, probably.
Well, I think the proverbial fur would fly.
So, Miles, let's get started here a little. First off, congratulations on becoming one of CoinWorld's top 10 most influential people in numismatics since 1960. I mean, how do you feel about being one of these most influential people in numismatics over the last 60 years? That's a pretty big, accomplishment.
Well, I appreciate CoinWorld, Jack, and I appreciate all people in the numismatic industry wide that participating and picking not only the top 10 but the top 100. To fall into the top 10, I was extremely elated and quite proud of the accomplishment and very humbled by it.
It's pretty exciting. Who, in your opinion, who is the person you feel has kind of most profoundly impacted the field of numismatics as a whole?
Well, I think you have to think about things that are used on a daily basis, and I really think there's so many great numismatists that have come and gone and that are around today that have done quite a bit for numismatics. But I think Dr. Sheldon's work with the numerical grading scale is the most profound thing that lives on in everyday use. Right. And that's just my opinion. I've met a lot of fabulous people. It doesn't take anything away from people I've met, and I never met Dr. Sheldon. So I kind of went by something when you asked that question of me. I kind of think about, what comes up every day and who's part of that.
Right.
And I think Sheldon left something very revered and appreciated. Over the years, people have talked about changing it, and nothing else has ever survived except for the 1 to 70 scale.
Yeah, Yeah, it's kind of fascinating to me. I think a lot of people don't even realize who he is. I have my copy here of his book, Penny Whimsy. This was my grandfather's copy that I still have. I have some articles and stuff that he stuck in here. But I think a lot of collectors don't even realize who William Sheldon is. They just know we use the 70-point scale. And, it was pretty ingenious of him the way he did it. Because, at the time, his whole idea was he was trying to actually value the coin, large cents was specifically, and he would attribute like a dollar amount to a coin, and then these were multipliers. So if he said an 1825 large cent was in one it was a $5 coin, and in 70 it was a $350 coin, and you had that obviously never worked, but.
Right.
But like you said, his legacy is this grading scale really did work, though, to kind of standardize how we look at coins. It used to be so vague, it's very fine. I call a coin very fine. You call it fine. Somebody else calls it extremely fine. We'd been using these descriptions for years, and he really began that process of us fine-tuning it and standardizing. And, you guys, at NGC, have fine-tuned it to, as scientific as you can make it, even though it's kind of an art, as well.
Right. And in the grading field, I've been using that since 1984. And, day in and day out, it's the subject matter. That's why I thought of him. It's interesting to see some of the other things that he had come up with that didn't work. But it's true to be said that, a lot of great thinkers, come up with a lot of ideas, and they run with the ones that work. And sometimes they leave even their ideas behind because they have ones that they've chosen over others. So I think that, it attributes to his great critical thinking outside the box. And he's got something that's been around for, 40, 50, 60 years. So
right.
It's fabulous.
It's interesting too, as I'm just thinking about Sheldon, he passed away before, certified grading. His scale was used,
right.
For large cents specifically, and for years his kind of legacy was attributing large cents. He came up with, he organized all the different varieties in a standardized system, and I feel like until kind of when you got into grading, and a little before that when they started certifying coins and making it a more formal for other series, his legacy was, that the grading scale was kind of the secondary thing that he did. And now today it's exploded beyond, what his original kind of accomplishment was with this, book about attributing large cents. It's interesting to see how things evolve, but I think that, your choice here is a kind of somewhat overlooked person who is, you're right, like hugely influential on the world of coins today. Like we couldn't do what we do without kind of his bedrock, foundation that he laid.
Well, if you think about it, that over 100 million coins plus have been certified with numismatic numbers, right, and the Sheldon grading scale attached to it. There isn't something that isn't more used on a daily basis than his work.
Right.
And, it's proven the test of time for many, many years.
Right. Now, on a more personal level, we all have people who've personally impacted us. I wanted to ask you kind of who is your kind of personal mentor as you got into numismatics, and why?
Well, I think the person that encouraged me the most, participated in that encouragement, traveled to trade shows, buying trips, things like that, even before I was in the grading business, was my father. And my grandfather also, who was a Whitman board type collector. My father first collected coin was the 38D Buffalo nickel, 37D Buffalo nickel off the floor of a family restaurant that he found a three-legged buffalo.
Oh, wow.
In the early 1950s. And but I think it was my father that was really the greatest influence, because I think it was the encouragement and the activity together that I have to say that, of anyone that I've ever worked with or been alongside with coins, other than, just purely in the grading room, would have been my father. And he was a great encourager that I could become anything I wanted to be. And if it was coins that I chose, he said, as long as that makes you happy, that's what you should go for.
Uh-huh. So he was kind of a collector himself. He was kind of the old school filling holes in album collector.
No, that was my grandfather, actually. My father loved high grade Morgan dollars. He loved Morgan dollars and proof like Morgan dollars. He thought those were the most exciting coins of all.
Okay, so it sounds like he passed. There's some genetic.
Yeah,
he passed on some of that for sure.
Well, and that book took many years of thinking about that book to end up publishing that book. But I think the first idea that I ever would do a Morgan dollar book, probably started in the early 1980s. And, some things take time, and, you can never give up your dreams and hopes of what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. And one of the things that I wanted to accomplish was to write a Morgan dollar book. And of course it was great because the NLG, gave the award for it. So it was, some things take time, but it was worth it in the end of the results that were produced.
Right. And, I was just going to ask you too about that book, because it's a great book. I love this book. I have it on my desk. A large percentage of our staff has one of these on their desk. We use it all the time. It's a great book. What was it kind of about the Morgan dollar that kind of made you write this book?
Well, it's like big, beautiful cartwheel silver dollars. Everybody loves them. Americans love big cars, big houses, and I think that the Morgan dollar, when I got interested in coins after, graduating from different things like, pulling coins from rolls, I think that I just honed in on a series that had great demand and interest. And, at the time, there was a lot of guys running around at trade shows that were my age that were also into Morgan dollars. Mm-hmm. And that's, there was kind of a, not competitive, but there was a lot of sharing of information amongst a lot of people that were crazy about Morgan dollar collecting. And, of course, today, the Morgan dollar base is even bigger than it was then on the graded side. And the popularity has just only grown. And a lot of people catch the Morgan dollar fever. And that's why I think that, and it was a shared interest with my father. It's great. You do something with your dad, but you have the same interest in the same series of coins. So, we shared a lot of interest and knowledge with each other based on different dates in the series, and, how their luster comes, how their strike comes. And I think that was really, a great thing for us to get to do together.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it is. It's a great series, like you said. All those things. It's big. When they're in high grade, especially, they're just magnificent with the luster, the way it cartwheels. It is really fascinating, though, once you start to dig into it and look at, you look at enough coins, how you really do see those characteristics that, they're not all the same from year to year and mint to mint. I know there's a lot of guys. You're probably one of them who, you can look at the obverse of a coin and know what mint mark it's going to be before you turn it over. That's a famous little game on a break every now and then in the grading room that we've played for years. When somebody will come across one that, it's let's play guess the mint mark. Right. And that's and sometimes, you've got people that are really into it and really know. And then there's some people that are still learning that skill, but it's still it's a fabulous game to play, actually. In Morgan dollars, it's a nuance amongst the series that's kind of interesting. But, it was probably because of Morgan dollars that I think I graduated into the second book. I don't mean to get ahead of you, Jack, but, it's really what graduated me into, those big, beautiful coins, the American Silver Eagle. Right. And we'll get there a little later because, I've been saying for years that, the Silver Eagle really is kind of our generation's Morgan dollar. It's the modern, era Morgan dollar. It's just kind of the continuation of those big silver coins before it. But before we get there, as we're on Morgans, it's hard for us not to bring up the upcoming release of these new 2021 Morgan and Peace dollar for the centennial anniversary. 100 years since the last Morgan, 100 years since the first Peace dollar. What do you think about these new releases?
I think it'll be fabulous, and I think that the base of people that'll collect them will be very wide range. I think that you'll draw the interest of people that purely like the design of the Morgan and Peace dollar, that'll want to collect these. And I think that, and there's a couple of photos right there that are just fabulous of the Morgan. I think the interest is going to be a lot higher than anybody will think, actually. But I think it'll be a sensational product that the Mint's going to roll out, and I think it'll cause quite a stir.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be people
just over a million coins struck. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure exactly at this hour if all the coins are going to come out in October or not. But we'll keep our fingers crossed and watch what happens. I believe the way that some of the legislation is written, it could be stretched out over into next year. But we'll see how that ends up rolling out.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's just over a million coins, but it's actually, I'm looking at it more like I think most people are going to want them as a set, and if it's sets, it's only 175,000 sets, which isn't very many when you consider how many collectors there are, because most of these coins, it's a mintage of 175,000. It'll be interesting to see what happens, once these are, once we're able to buy these things and the Mint starts selling them. I think people are just going to be climbing over each other to get these things. I think it's going to be just crazy.
Yeah. No, I think that it's going to be feverish. It'll be interesting. The Mint's got a big job on its hand because it's got a very high demand item. Right. A lot of pressure on them for their online site to be able to handle the traffic. I believe the Mint has good intentions. And I like this program quite a bit. I love the design work that was a collaborated effort of, original artwork, working with inside the Mint to be able to make these coins. And the likeness is sensational for the designs.
Yeah, I think they've done a wonderful job. I mean, I look forward to seeing them in hand, but just looking at the images that they've been sharing, I think it's going to be a real killer coin. I think I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited about it. And I mean, I've seen it, and you've probably seen it too. But demand for Morgan's period right now is just insane. Like, it's just, I think this has spurred a kind of, a lot of collectors to get back into Morgan dollars. Once they see this new coins coming out, and it gets the wheels turning about, oh yeah, I always like those Morgans. Let me start looking for some. And it seems like they're just hotter than a pistol right now.
Well, between the 21, which comes in the high relief version, the way it was struck in the original 1921, I think is going to be a very, very interesting collected coin. But on top of it, I think that, having the varieties and the mint marks and the privy marks for the Morgans, I just think that it's going to spur a lot of interest for, current and past collectors of Morgan dollars. And it might even bring some people back into the marketplace that, maybe hadn't been collecting lately too. But I know it's going to bring a lot of modern collectors into this area, and it should spur a lot of interest coming up this fall when it gets released.
Right. Now, we talked about your book on Morgans, and of course I'm also a huge fan of your book on Silver Eagles that you did with our mutual friend John Mercanti. So I just want to ask too about the Silver Eagle series. Obviously another big year in coins for Silver Eagles. We'll get into that more.
Absolutely.
But kind of what stood out to you to make you feel collectors needed an official guidebook for Silver Eagles?
Well, for my thinking, as the series had grown into the 1990s, into the millennium, nothing had been written. Mm-hmm. And it's such a highly collected set with a completeness of all the dates I felt like it was kind of obvious that it needed to be written. And I know that when I met John Mercanti, I told him this is what I wanted to do. And I hoped that he'd like to do it with me, and he did. And, we've got later this year, the 4th edition coming out with, more information on the new design that Michael Godioso was the engraver for. The final image that's used for the striking of the coins, which will be the Type 2 Uverse, but that'll be out later this year.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be a coin collector, that's for sure. Now, as I said, you co-authored that book with Mercanti, and we showed an image of you there with John. And can you tell us a little bit about, kind of your relationship with John and your collaboration with him on this book? How did that work?
Well, it started a long time ago when John was still working at the Mint, and I had asked him if he'd retire and start signing autographs with me, and and he put me off for a while, and then I just decided, well, you know what, I'll convince his wife. He'll have to do it. And lo and behold, that's why John and I have the relationship we have today. That's over a dozen years old. We met at a show, and we had met before, but we knew each other. We knew who each other were, but just looking at each other. And we've been close friends with both him and his wife Marianne, that are just superb people, and they've been just delightful to know as friends and an autograph signer. And obviously we had the success with the book, and John's done some great design work around the globe with World Mints even. Right. And, John told me when I first met him, he said, Miles, if I'm going to retire from the Mint, he says, my father and grandfather worked till the day they died at 85. And I think John was about 69, 68, somewhere in there. And I said, I promised I'd keep him working that long signing autographs.
So that's interesting. So you met him, he was still working for the Mint, and I'm guessing that legally he probably couldn't be signing autographs for you as still work for the Mint. Yeah. Is that an issue?
Yeah, they're not allowed to do both if they actually are in an employment with the Mint. So I had to wait till John made the decision to retire. But, it's been a beautiful thing, and it's kept John very busy, very active. And I think that has been a profound thing on his life in retirement, that he can be both attached to his efforts in the years at the Mint. With his signature, it leaves a long legacy of his design work. And I think we all need to have a little legacy sometimes of the things we've accomplished in life. And, so many years later, it worked like I promised it would work for him. And that's the most beautiful thing about it. That is, I told him I didn't know to what degree, but I knew it would be successful. And I think it's been beyond both our wildest dreams, the demand for people who, collect silver eagles. Remember, they've made over 500 million silver eagles. And, John's name is attached to all of them. And I've always explained to him the key is to put an autograph with each one of them, because the popularity around the globe, there seems to be this endless thirst for the love of the American silver eagle. Right. And I believe with the new design, which will be very popular, will continue on.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and he is, I don't know him nearly as well as you know him, but he's been on the show here as well, and he's just a sweetheart. Like, I love, he's just so awesome. But you're right, there's so much demand for, I always look at it like, coins are works of art. They are. And, when you get that coin with his signature, you're getting a signed work of art. It's, and he's just the master. How many coins does he design? Like 130 something coins and medals for the Mint, plus all these ones for other countries now, Perth Mint and other places. It's incredible.
Yeah, he's done over 100 plus silver coins and medals and gold coins and commemoratives. And, he's right up there with the most prolific of all designers. And the popularity has never ended by the work that that he's able to have performed over the years. And it's really been a great, it's been a great life example of his legacy, but it's also lived on in retirement. And I think he's gotten a lot of great pleasure about it. Some people, they enjoy woodworking or carving or, different types of projects that they can do at home, arts and crafts, golf. But I think that John really loves to design and engrave. And, it shows in his work. His love and passion for the designs that he does is just fabulous.
Right, exactly. I mean, he's a true artist. It wasn't like he was designing coins because it was just a job that he fell into. He is. He's a true artist who just would be creating art whether he was chief engraver of the U.S. Mint or not. He'd be doing this. This is what he does. He creates this works of art. He did it as a kid. He was showing me those little wooden dolls he made as a teenager or whatever that he was selling locally and stuff. It's just in his DNA to design stuff. But we were talking too about the changing over to this upcoming Type 2, and when John was on here, I asked him about it. He's such a great, humble guy too. He's just was like, they approached me and asked me what I thought, and I said whatever's best for collectors. He's like, he had no problem with them changing the design. He had a great, his design was on there for whatever it is now, 30 something years, and he was like, God bless, let them do it. If they're gonna change it, go for it. But what are your thoughts on this new design?
Well, two things too, and that is, a lot of people don't realize this or have this information clearly. And I think change is good. Mm-hmm. You have to remember the Weinman work on the obverse of the coin was re-engraved by John.
Right.
And it was enriched for the design of the Silver Eagle. So I kind of look at it as, John's handiwork is going to be tied to this coin forever.
Right.
And the changing of the reverse, I think, is going to be sensational. And I think, I know you have a rendition of it right there. And I think it's even going to be better when you see that in beautiful silver.
Yeah, when you see it in 3 dimensions, I think it's really going to be impressive because I think they did a great job. But yeah, you're right. People forget to think sometime about that obverse, which, obviously based on Wyman's, Walking Liberty half dollar, but, Mercanti did quite a bit to bring it out because, he had this much bigger canvas to work with. Wyman had a half dollar. This is, more than double the size, and the technology was just so much better. I mean, think about how many even very high-grade Walking Liberty half dollars that you see that they have no detail, and they're all mushy in the middle. You don't see the hand and the stripes in the flag and the eagle feathers.
The flag alone, John, enriched so much. Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite parts of that. It's nice on the Walking Liberty half dollar, but the way that John enriched the skirt lines and Old Glory and the stars,
right?
And they are fully struck compared to a lot of weakly struck Walking Liberty half dollars. And then, like I said, the work of the engraver number 2, Type 2 with Michael Godioso. I think he brought out the richness of that design, and I think that it'll be interesting to see from my perspective how much that eagle is protected when they're housed in the packaging that comes from the mint. And we'll see how they grade out. We won't know that till we get our first boxes, of course. But the overall design, I think, is very pleasant. And remember, it's kind of like the rollout of the Silver Eagle in 1986. We saw, John's design wasn't famous before it was rolled out.
Right.
So I don't look at change ever being bad. And, in the collectability, I think that people that collect these, it's more interesting of a reason to collect American Silver Eagles and continuation of the building of the set. And so I think it'll be really nice.
Yeah. I agree. I'm excited. I think the new design's great. I'm looking forward to see how I didn't even think about how the what you're kind of touching on there, the relief of how Michael engraves it. How high is that the eagle's wing and head and things compared to the other features on the coin, and how will that affect how they grade? It's interesting. I didn't really kind of think about it too much, but it depends on how raised are the edges of the coin and the lettering and stuff compared to that eagle. Are they going to all come with marks on the high points where very few are 70s, or like you said, we don't know until we know, right? We got to see the coins.
Don't know what we know.
It's interesting. Wow. So I also know that you are on the road right now. You were talking to you from a coin show, and I think I know they've just started opening up coin shows after over a year. What's it like? How have things changed since the last coin show? Have you noticed the market grown? I'm guessing there's a lot more safety precautions. What's kind of different about going to a coin show in 2021 versus maybe the end of 2019 or beginning of 2020?
Well, throughout this whole pandemic, the rules are so different from state to state.
Yeah.
I'm in the state of Florida this week, and just this week the governor took off all mandates. So,
okay.
And they haven't had the cases down here in Florida ever since they took off a lot of the mandates. But the activity, I think the feverish interest for guys that feel safe to go, I think they're just glad to get out. They're glad to get out of their office or their coin store, and they love anybody that trades items. You can't pent them up too long, and they just get excited to come to a trade show. So it kind of reminds me a little bit, of 35 years ago, as a teenager traveling to trade shows. It was always that feverish excitement because it was still so new for me at that time. But I think it's been re-energized in a lot of people too, the same way, to get back to a show after the pandemic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out. I had a flight booked for Baltimore in March, which was March of 2020, which got canceled. That was right when everything started getting crazy. I think my last coin show was the Fun Show in January of 2020. So it's been a while for me. I'm looking forward to getting out there.
I think my last show, I was on the road quite a lot in February of last year, and I believe it was the Long Beach show that was my last show. So in January, the Fun Show, and then February, Long Beach, and then it was lights out.
Actually, yeah, I would have been at Long Beach. I forget about Long Beach because I don't have to fly anywhere because it's local for me. Yeah. But it's been a while, so I'm looking forward to it. Have you noticed kind of, I've been doing a lot of business. Obviously, I have a network of people, and it's a lot of today with technology, phone and emails and things. But have you noticed the market? I mean, you're not buying and selling, so you're in a little different position. You're getting submissions. But what have you noticed with the market? Has it been super busy?
Yeah, I think, elite rarities have been red hot. Mm-hmm. We've seen a lot of coins bring over $1 million. Probably more so. I can't imagine another time where I've seen it in the last year, coins bringing, well over 500,000, $1 million, multiple millions of dollars. Never seen anything like it my entire career. We've had coins in the past that sold for, 7-10 million, but those were one-off items in a given year.
Right.
We had the Brashular balloon that sold, I guess that was earlier this year, right, at a little over 9 million. We've got the 3320 that's going to come up for sale, I believe, within the next month. I guess that's going to be sold in New York by Sotheby's. But we don't know what that's going to bring. It brought a little over 7 million 20 years ago.
Yeah, but like 7.6 in 02, I think it was 2002.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, I believe it was the summer after 9/11. So I think it was at the A&A show in New York that it sold at Sotheby's. But that's been a long time. Stuart Weitzman bought that coin. We didn't know who the buyer was, but the famous shoemaker bought that coin. And I know that name because I see that name every time I walk into our closet at home. I don't think his wife needs a new pair of shoes is why he's selling the coin, but I wish him the best.
I'm sure
but
he's
we
going to
might
do well with that coin.
we might see some world record price we never would have dreamed of.
Yeah.
That to me in the next 30 days could be some of the big news.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it isn't. But you're right. It's been incredible. I was thinking about that this morning. Usually in a course of a year lately, you might see a few $1 million coins, but yeah, it seems like almost every week now there's another $1 million coin.
Or 2 million or 3 million. I mean, we had some Gibson coins sell a few months ago in heritage auctions, but it's mind-boggling. I mean, it's great to see. Obviously, it's what it's what we call our numismatic dreams, to see great coins and see people pay gobs of money for it. But we really have seen some amazing numbers happen in a lot of collectibles, especially in the coin business. But I still think we got more to come that's going to shock us.
Yeah, it feels like it's still kind of towards the beginning of the cycle to me. But in my experience, like you're saying, we're seeing the world of coins, world of collectibles, sports cards, non-sports, Pokemon, like all these things are booming with crazy prices. Art, what are submissions like now at NGC? What are you seeing at this show or at other? Because this is a grading event that you're at this show, right? And then plus in the office too.
Yeah, we're grading a significant more, much more amount of coins, obviously, right now than we did even a year ago. I will say this: the way to describe between March of 2020 and today, it's like the year never ended. Many times in the coin market, you have if you go back to last year, the tax time slowdown. Well, remember there wasn't a tax time. And people were buying gold and silver feverishly. And then you have the summer doldrums time. Well, people were bored and they were watching TV. They were watching Rick Tomaska and Jack McNamara, Jim Gerstel on RCTV. And I hope you don't mind that plug.
I appreciate it. Never mind a good
plug. A lot of lonely nights where I live. You couldn't go away, So there's Jack and Jimmy.
Right.
But of course you have the fall season, the holiday season, and then back in January the explosion starts again, and then of course even tax time, which we've just passed. There hasn't been any lulls. It's been constantly hot, and the collectibles market in all areas is feverishly hot, and people want it certified. We've hit some numbers volume wise. We're expanding staff. I think we've hired 75 to 100 new employees in our entire company.
Wow.
Just this year alone. That's probably I think it's somewhere around nearly 25% more employees than we had last year.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, I know Numismatics, we're talking about how hot it is, how exciting it is, $1 million coins. I've heard always it referred to as the king of hobbies or the hobby of kings. What is it, in your opinion, that makes numismatic the king of hobbies?
Well, I'm going to say this. I don't think it started out necessarily because it was numismatics, but because coins in the past were made of gold and silver. Gold, silver. I think that's what attributed the name. Somebody else may have more information than I have, but that's just answering that question as you phrased it. I think that there were past leaders of the world that were actually coin. I think Julius Caesar was a coin collector to some degree, but it was probably either made of bronze, silver, or gold, and so that would make sense that it was the item of kings and queens to collect. The Queen of England has an extensive coin collection. I'm going to bet that predominantly most of those coins are silver and gold, and copper, I'm sure too, maybe some platinum, but predominantly silver and gold. So, I guess if kings and queens still own it, that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think about, we kind of take for granted in today's world that, we can find these great coins, and whether you're somebody young, when I was a kid, I'd go through rolls at the bank and look for coins for my books. Today as a kid, you can look for state quarters, America the Beautiful quarters. You can find those W Mint Mark quarters they're mixing in. You can start by just at face value. But, a couple hundred years ago when people first collected coins and this hobby started, unless you were a king or some kind of royalty, any money that came in your hands, you had to spend it. Like, that was how you lived and ate.
Sure. And one of the things, if you think about it, Jack, coins, because they've been used for commerce so long, they are one of the oldest collectibles that there is that is still alive today in a feverish way. And, because they were gold and silver, that's why they lasted the test of time. I mean, if you talk about trading cards, they're turn of the century, early tobacco cards, but they sure aren't the era of Julius Caesar or Cleopatra.
I thought I heard Julius Caesar collected Pokemon and some NFTs and things. No? That's not accurate?
Yeah. Well, I think there's some old emails that he wrote that he had interest in that, but he wasn't quite collecting.
Oh, man. Anyway, so I'm trying to think of anything else that's on your mind that you need to get off your chest, Miles, before we conclude our show today.
Well, I'd really like to see the utensils show up to my hotel room, because this key lime pie, I'm just itching for this key lime pie, and I don't want to be so gross and just put my hands in it and eat it. So
just dig in,
it's beautiful.
Like in the movie Christmas Story. Like, come on, Miles. How's the little piggy eat?
Yeah, I just I can't do it on camera, but I think I can do it without using my hands.
Oh, man. Well, this has been great. Let's see. Does it have in here the? No. Okay. Before we go, first off, I appreciate you joining me today. I appreciate you putting on a shirt. I don't know if you put on pants or not, but I appreciate you putting on a shirt and joining us today. Before we go, though, as you know, we give $1,000 donation to a charity of our guest's choice. I understand we're giving to the Standish Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about that charity?
Well, that's extremely kind and really appreciate it. But my wife, for more than 12 years now, has been running the standishfoundation.org, and it is all about helping kids. It's all about teaching doctors and nurses around the world how to lower the stress factor when you're working with children with, a chronic illness that creates a lot of anxiety for them.
Right.
And their job is to help doctors and nurses to teach them how to lower that fear for children. I always use the example. It's like if you ask your buddy, does he like going to the dentist? Typically he'll tell you, oh no, I hate going to the dentist. I had a bad experience when I was a kid.
Right.
Well, my wife's a child life specialist. And if you had a child life specialist that worked with a child before they went to their experience with the dentist, maybe that child's life would be a little different in the future about going to the dentist.
Right.
So with their educational programs that they'll do for doctors and nurses, more than 500,000 plus kids have benefited from that education. We also finance some programs for cleft palate surgery. That is remarkable work. It's as difficult as it sounds. It's easy. And it fixes obviously a great problem when a child has, maybe a hole in the roof of their mouth or a split lip.
Well, it's a great charity, and I know, I've met your wife a couple times. I know besides just the financial support you guys give to these kids, I know she works really hard with these kids, with the foundation, and we're happy to support. I know we've supported in the past, so we're happy to give a little bit more here and support it as always. It's great to have you here, Miles. I'm really happy you were able to take some time out from your travels. I know you're a busy guy, but it's always great to see you. We always have a lot of fun together. So thanks again for joining me here.
Miles, we actually have a quick question from one of our viewers in chat. You mind if I ask?
Go right ahead.
He said that he noticed on the registry set that the 2021 Morgan dollar was added and then taken off shortly after. Do you think that's going to stay off or be added back on?
You know, we want to be able to put that in the right category specifically. I have a few of my suggestions, which are multiple. I'm not sure how we're going to quite end up doing that. It's my opinion that the coins should be, the coins are more special than just a commemorative. It's a definite serious anniversary coin. But I think that it should be, my opinion, just for me, and it isn't necessarily what it means final for NGC, but I'd like to see it added into the Morgan dollar set and the peace dollar sets, but also into the commemorative section as an extremely interesting and popular commemorative coin. So, some people may not like that answer. That's just mine. It doesn't mean it's going to be final, but we'll see what happens. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, because can you sometimes have coins that fall into different categories? Like, for example, could you have, the current Morgan set that's the classic era, and then a complete Morgan set that also adds the new ones, and then also have those new Morgans also in a set with, say the gold Mercury dime and the gold standing quarter and the gold walking half or something like that, maybe?
Yeah, I think anything's possible, Jack. I think we're probably going to reach out to the collector community and ask them a little bit too.
Right.
Engage with people that love to collect these beautiful coins.
It's funny, and we were getting ready to go, and now I've taken a little side path here. There's a great question, and it's a great answer. It just got me thinking though about one of the reasons I love collecting coins so much is, there's no one way to do it. Like we just went through with these brand new coins, 3, 4, 5 scenarios of how you can collect them. You can collect it as its own series. You can collect it if you're a Morgan collector. You can collect it if you're collecting commemorative coins. You can add it to a collection of these modern, reissue centennial coins. I mean, they fit. There's no one, it has to be this way answer for everyone. However you collect you collect however you want.
Well, that's the beauty of collecting. And, the one thing that I like about this series is that, I say series, this issue that's coming out, it really is going to spark the multiple interest of a lot of different type of collectors. And I think that's great for the hobby and that's great for collecting. But so many different ways that could possibly come about through all this.
Right. It's an exciting time. A lot going on in the world of coins this year. A real lot. So
absolutely.
I'm looking forward to getting back out there and seeing you in person. This has been a real pleasure as always. Thanks again, Miles, for joining us here. It's great to see you.
Thank you to your whole team, Colleen, on the pie getting delivered to my hotel here in Central Florida. And it's always great to see you, Jack, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
We're going to FedEx you a fork, too, so tomorrow you can eat your pie.
It might be the fastest way to get one.
All right. Well, thanks, Miles. And thank you to all our viewers for joining me here today on Coin Snacks with Jack. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We're streaming here every week on Facebook and YouTube, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, so tune in for your weekly dose of numismatics. And don't forget about our lunch special going on until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. It's 5% off of our 2021 Philadelphia Emergency Production Silver Eagles and the 2021 Standard Mint State American Silver Eagles at rarecollectiblestv.com. And we will see you next week for another exciting episode.
Thanks for watching Coin Snacks with Jack. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you never miss an episode of Coin Snacks. Visit us at rarecollectiblestv.com.